Today we're simply going to cover how to take profit using the red zone. This is day 4 of week 7. We're almost to the end, so let's go ahead and take a look at taking profits. Let's remember 5 consecutive red bars equal a stop to go flat 1 tick above the high. So here's a chart. Here's our first red bar. There's our second consecutive, third, fourth, and fifth. Now let's take a look at how many actually add-on sales we would have had real quick before we go on. Here's your first red bar, so you have 1 to create, 2 to initiate, so we added on the number 2. Did not add on number 3 because it's a higher close. We did add on number 4, and we did add on number 5. So you had 3 add-ons out of your 5 consecutive bars. Now we're going to use a trailing stop. So let's take a look at how that's going to work. First trailing stop is going to be 1 tick above the high of that bar. It's then going to move down as the market moves down. It's going to then move, that's exactly the same, so it really doesn't, you don't have to actually change that order, but you would if it was a different number or lower. That moves down, we change our trailing stop 1 tick above that high, and we change it again here 1 tick above the high. And we're stopped out on this next bar. That high takes out this high, so notice we had the profit, we took profit all the way down, and we were stopped out on this bar. It was not a bad exit spot. So you see how the trailing stop can work. We don't want to exit the market if the market's going to continue to give us profits or continue in the same direction, but if the market's going to pull back, especially having that many consecutive red bars, we want to take our profit off the table, and then we'll re-enter again with the fractal. Now here's another chart. This one's a little more busy, but let's go ahead and talk about it. Here's your first red bar, and I've put squares around the add-ons. It had a lower close. Notice here there's nothing around it. It closed higher, but it did give us a price to add on for the next day. And you see the box has got a square, so we did have a lower close than that day, so we added on here. And then again here we added on, we had a lower close. Now, that's also the 5th consecutive red bar. After 5, remember, we do not want to take any more add-on positions. So we have now moved our stop from the alligator to a trailing stop, 1 tick above the high of each of these bars. And you see how we just move it down, continue to move it down until we're taken out. And this is the point that we exit this move. So again, you can see how the zones really help us to increase our profit and lock in our profit at the same time. Now this is a natural gas chart on a 30-minute. It's also kind of a volatile chart, so we like to get in and out of this chart. In this case, we had 5 consecutive red bars, and then we were stopped out. Now I put the lines here again because it was a little difficult finding your 5 consecutive bars. Okay, so here's our 5 bars, and this one is circled because this is where you were stopped out if you'd used a trailing stop coming down. Now you also see what happens with the gator. You see everything starting to close up. The gator's starting to shut his mouth. You have squats here, you have a fractal on the bottom, you also had a change of momentum. So some things were starting to happen in the market conditions as well. Well, that's the end of day 4 of week 7. We have so far this week we have covered green zone buys, red zone sells, and protective stops in the red zone and in the green zone. Tomorrow we're going to come back and just kind of recap and talk about the gray zone a little bit. I know you haven't talked about that this week, so you need to understand what the gray zone does as well. So have a good evening, and we'll see you again tomorrow.